Hey Maria, how you doing?
Hi, Brent. Fantastic.
Great. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for inviting me.
Pleasure. It was a bit of a last minute for you, wasn't it? I know I kind of caught you on the hop, and I'm
I'm
stoked to
always
have you. I'm stoked to have you on. We connected. Would have been November last year, September, October, November last year. Melbourne CBD at the ACS building. Do you remember when we first
yeah,
met? Yeah. And I remember I was meeting with Michelle and Lydia, and there seems to be an entourage of some amazing women at the ACS, right?
absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me, how did you get involved?
Oh, there is a bit of a history with the ACS, which takes me back about 16 years ago when I arrived to Australia as an international student to study Bachelor of Applied Science IT, which was all about programming. And I joined ACS as a student member, and the only reason really at that time was that once you become an ACS member as a student, it helps you to fast track through a permanent residency or extension of your student visa. But I somehow saw a potential and something got interested me in this society. And I was an active member, networking, learning, making sure my professional development is uplifted constantly. And about 5 years ago, I was invited to join Victorian Branch Executive Committee to lead an initiative called ACS for Women. At that time, doesn't exist anymore. And I worked on a few initiatives, had a small committee, and then got an invitation and put my hand up for the chair role. So, which was a quite, I fast-tracked my ACS career, as I call it, and was elected as a chair now in my fourth year, which is the second term.
That's incredible. Incredible. So 16 years ago, you came out from Russia. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, 16 years ago, you've landed in Melbourne and you've landed in Melbourne. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And then you reached out to ACS. Like at the time, the organisation's gone through so much change and it's really come on. What was it like back then when you first entered? Like, I can imagine very, very different to now, right?
It was. So back then I wasn't involved at the branch level and not even national level. Of course, I was just a member, but I do remember
Sure.
how many older gentlemen were there, and the only women I saw were really the ones who were organizing events. So very few women. And now we have a much greater diversity, and especially on the Victorian Branch Executive Committee. And I'm seeing more and more women in the industry and joining us at events, or shall I
Yeah.
say, were joining us last year or before coronavirus.
Yeah, sure thing. So now I know you love your events and we'll get to the personal branding piece, but what are your actual roles and responsibilities day in, day out in terms of being on the chair of ACS? What type of things do you look after?
I'm wearing several hats within the ACS. As you mentioned, I'm the chair of the Victorian Branch Executive Committee, and I'm also at the national level. We have a Congress, and as the chair, I'm part of the Congress, and then there is a management committee which governs the whole society, and I'm part of the MC. And we also have a number of internal boards and committees looking at different functions. And I'm part of membership advisory board, which consists of all the chairs, and we have 8 branches from every state and territory. And we also have a digital enablement steering committee, which looks after the all the technology and platforms and works closely with chief digital officer. So it's an internally focused committee, tech related. And my background, I've always been in technology before leaving corporate and establishing my own business. But I spent about 9 years in Salesforce.com ecosystem.
Okay.
So, long answer to your question, but a number of hats within ACS, and I see myself as an ambassador of this wonderful society. It's a truly flagship non-for-profit association, a company, not just in Australia, but overseas. And so many other non-for-profits from different industries quite often reach out to us, asking questions. How were you able to achieve such success? Share what you've done. And so ambassador, and I see myself someone who gives or provides advice, access, and advocacy. So it's all really ambassadorship role and being the face of the organization or one of the faces, and
Sure.
extending connections and networks.
I remember when I first, I remember ACS from years and years ago. I used to get emails 20 years ago into my inbox, and I never really had a direct experience until I had to meet up with Lydia one day, and I was at Collins Street down Docklands then, and I remember arriving into the building and walking through the doors, and I'm like, what's going on here? This place is great. And I remember I joined up straight away. I became is that a student member? I think it was $300 or something. Is that a student member? Or
No, 370 is the full member.
Right, so gotcha. Okay, so I'm a full member, and I remember one down the track, my company's going to be a member of this, and I knew straight away. And then since then, I've just had some incredible conversations with some great people, and I was fortunate enough to facilitate that event. It was meant to be the Melbourne Convention Centre in April, May, but then they shifted it to digital, and I had to run a webinar with, I don't know, 580 students on, I'm not 580 people, something like that. And it was so difficult to do it in a room by myself with a screen in front of me where I couldn't see anyone's faces. There was no interaction with the audience, and all the energy, I couldn't use other people's energy. I had to bring it on myself, and I was exhausted, and I thought it was going to be easier, but it was actually harder. But I'm looking forward to hopefully doing some more stuff with ACS down the track. Anyway, I digress. So, great place. Check it out. If there's anyone interested in tech and wants to become an association member or get their companies involved, ACS, we'll put a link somewhere around this sort of stuff. Personal branding. There are so many people out there right now who need some help in this space. And I reckon, Maria, you're the one to deliver the gold nuggets to them. So tell me about your personal branding journey. When did you think that it was time to, play a more active role in this space? Was it, 1 year ago, 10 years ago? Is it always something you've thought about? I'm curious to hear philosophies around it.
So I started my own personal branding journey about 6-7 years ago, and I was actually on maternity leave at that time, getting ready to go back into the workforce. And somehow this thought came to my mind that I really need to look at how I'm representing myself and how I'm showing up into the world, and started that journey with hiring a stylist and revamped my whole wardrobe. And then it just went on to professional development activities and personal development activities and emotional intelligence workshops and social media channels. And I just continued doing that intuitively for myself. And then with the involvement with the ACS and a couple of other organizations within the technology sector, I started expanding my networks and connections and started then attracting different opportunities, invitations, different events, speaking opportunities, not just in Melbourne, but all around Australia and even internationally. And probably one of the most impactful events in my life in relation to personal branding was about 3.5 years ago, when I was made redundant unexpectedly from a job. It was very unexpectedly, considering I was receiving fantastic feedback from my direct manager. And then I remember it was mid-December. I was godsmacked, like, what am I going to do? How am I going to find work? It's nearly Christmas. And I said to myself, that's okay. I'm not going to think about this for now. I'm going to enjoy summer. And in the new year, mid-Jan, I'll go back and start looking. So I went on LinkedIn and changed the top line that open for opportunities, just that, open for opportunities. And people who knew me started reaching out to me, sending direct messages saying, hey Maria, we noticed your status update. If you're interested, we have connections in this and this organization. Just give us your resume and we'll forward it. And I was like, yeah, cool. So I shared my resume. So in less than 2 months' time, I started having interviews without applying for any single position. None. So everything started coming my way. And in exactly 3 months after I was made redundant, day to day, I started a new role. And I had 3 job offers. And I thought, gee, how am I going to choose that? So I went into the interviews with an attitude that I'm going to interview you and I'm going to make the right decision which company, the roles were very similar, but which company would be the best for me in terms of the culture, the vibe, the feeling, the hiring manager, the HR manager, like the whole gamut. And I picked one of the 3s. So it was amazing to see how these networks, connections, and just one social media channel, LinkedIn, which is the best platform for professionals, could be so impactful and basically change your life. So fast forward, I sticked around with that company for about 2.5 years and started feeling that it feels like I've outgrown this company, the role, there is nothing else I can do, like to step up. I was longing to have a leadership role, and my career within ACS progressed amazingly. So that's when I really started working closely into personal branding space, and more people, my peers, started reaching out to me with questions. So again, clearly I could see that there is a demand, people need help, and personal branding is complex because there are many components to that. I look at this as a big puzzle with lots of different pieces. So firstly, you need to know what those pieces are, and you also need to know who you are as an individual and professional, and then how to actually communicate your vision, skills, and passion, and where you want to go next in your career or in your business, and bring all those pieces together so that it creates that picture, the story for the world, and that the world starts seeing you in the way you want to be seen. So then you can start attracting big and better opportunities in career and life. So it's not you chasing those opportunities, they're coming to you.
Amazing. It's when you mention the fact that, you know, it was one little action that you took on LinkedIn about being open to opportunities, and that got the ball rolling for you. I mean, you've got so much more to share today. In saying that, like just that alone, in terms of where people are currently at right now in their businesses, their careers, there's been so much uncertainty and change, and obviously employment numbers have gone through the roof, but it's that one action. It's that one little action that creates a tiny little bit of momentum that could lead to the step 2, 3, 4, like you said. And I can validate all of what you're saying through my journey since selling Engage and then getting to this point where I'm at now. I mean, here I was, I sold the business just 3.5 years ago, and I sat down the coast for 4 weeks and I was surfing every day, and I'm like, how good's this? Hanging out with the fam. And I was like, I've got to do something. I'm getting bored. Like, you know, the phone stops, the email stop, like, oh, I've got to do something. So, like you, I jumped onto LinkedIn and I put a post. And the next day I did a post. And then 3.5 years later, businesses, speaking opportunities, connections, incredible. And, you know, obviously work ethic as well, but making sure that I'm showing up on LinkedIn on a regular basis so that people can get to know me for who I am and also know my interests and also the businesses. And like you said, it's that one little step. So if anyone out there today, you just take one little step. Like Maria's going to give you a bunch of gold, but just that one little thing to do something today is a step in the right direction. So tell me, what else, Maria? So tell me.
Yeah, so let me add a few things. I look at personal branding as a marketing tool for individuals. Marketing is not a new thing, but we in the past or up until recently, the focus was on how to market and promote brands. But personal branding is marketing yourself, promoting yourself in the strategic, deliberate way. And that way can be different and should be different for everyone, of course. And LinkedIn, absolutely agree with you in terms of the channel as one of the most impactful for professional career. However, there are other amazing channels which complement LinkedIn, such as Instagram.
Yep.
So this year, 2020, with this coronavirus, I took as a huge surprise. And then I thought, well, okay, this is the current situation. What can I do for myself? And I thought I really need to pay attention and or focus my attention for a short period of time on Instagram. And the reason for that is that you as a human, it's not just your work. There are other sides of you which you might want and should want to express and show the different sides of you. So your hobbies, potentially your children or your family, the sports you do, anything else related, your passions, you might love cooking. So Instagram is a fantastic platform to complement LinkedIn with showing more of you, who you are. And it's well known nowadays that people buy people. Yes, they do buy services and products, but through people. People choose products and services based on the face, on the energy, on the connection, how you likability, trustworthiness, and many other factors. So to show actually more of who you are, it's what benefits you. And quite often I get a question, so how about I show a side of myself or tell a story and that will turn people off? And I say, look, surely, but that's who you are, that's you authentic. Some people will be turned off, others will be turned on. And you naturally will start attracting the right people with whom you are very happy to communicate and work with and service as clients. So that's the power of personal branding. But you also need to do that to go on the journey, which is a long-term journey. It's not going to take you 1 month, even though even 1 month will be very impactful, but it's an ongoing journey. And look at this as, if you want to become fit and stronger and lose some weight, it's not like you just go on a diet, you lose weight, and then you go back to your normal routine or eating habits. No, you change the way you live. So that's the personal branding as well. Once you get your head around what are the missing pieces in your personal branding, where you want to take yourself, what you need to pay attention, what changes do you need? Is it really the mindset? Is it how you perceive yourself? Is it your confidence? And then you start the work which takes you for the rest of your life.
It's a journey, right? It's all about creating. I'm a storyteller. I love telling stories, and I feel sometimes when I'm wake up in the morning, I think about what I'm going to post, because I don't plan out my content. I really don't. I'm just massive, like, wake up, what's going on up in the dial? Okay, where's a photo? Click, and so I have no structure around my own personal stuff, which is interesting. And you mentioned before around, personal branding is about showing people what you want to show them, or is along those lines. And I have this challenge, Maria, I need you to help me. I have this challenge about me personally. I have this challenge about being too polished per se and too curated and structured. And then the flip side of that, at times I'm just too raw and like, I know that I'll be pushing people away sometimes, and then some coming in. And I wondered to myself, do I want to sacrifice authenticity for polish? And I just can't do it. But yet I think maybe it would help my mission to impact as many people as I can for better. So what are your thoughts around that?
Look, my thoughts are, how does it make it feel? Like, what do you feel? If you feel that you need to be, let's say, as an example, to be more polished, then, and that would make you feel more confident and would make you feel that you're showing up in a consistent way by always being polished, then think what you actually need to do to look polished. then if that's your lifestyle, when you in certain events you are polished, maybe doing a public speaking in front of large audience, you might wear a suit or a shirt, business shirt. And in other ways, you're doing podcast in your casual wear with a surfboard in your background. Maybe this is just your lifestyle. So I would suggest to really reflect on your internal feeling. And at the end of the day, whatever approach you take, if that's taking you to your goals and your wishes and your visions, then that's your life. That's you being authentic. You actually balance polished versus being casual.
Interesting, isn't it? It really, really is interesting. So I value authenticity, right? I think it's the most important thing. And I reckon that's one of my personal super weapons, because I am very different. I'm very unique, and I'm not afraid to speak up and speak out about the things I believe in. And I think, trying to get the balance right, sometimes I'm like, what did I just say then? And like you said, there's LinkedIn, there's Instagram, there's Facebook, which we haven't talked about, which is fine. I try to bring my Instagram content to LinkedIn, which is like, goes against the grain a lot. It really does. However, I found that I actually got an opportunity, a new client, from sharing a story that I posted on my Instagram story, on my LinkedIn story. They ended up spending about $30,000, new tech startup. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. What about the story functions on LinkedIn? Are you doing anything in that space? Or
yes.
What are your thoughts around it?
I love stories on LinkedIn. It's I would say this is the only place out of all social media channels, and I'm also on Twitter, on Facebook, not that actively, but this is the only place where you can express your creativity, and you can play with colors and fonts and tag people and hashtags. So it's just, for me, it's the creativity place, which then disappears after 24 hours. And if there was something that I shared, maybe controversial, a bit of a political arena, and I don't want to keep that in my main feed, then it just disappears.
Yeah, it does disappear. And it's funny, like, you go.
So, and I wanted to say, it's really, you need to think through, so those sides of your personal brand, of you, which you want to be visible more, then that's what you put in your feed. And extra bits and pieces you would add into the stories. So again, stories, so we have a LinkedIn for professionals as the main platform. Then I personally, whatever content I write for LinkedIn, I use on Instagram as is. So my Instagram complements LinkedIn, but the visuals I actually develop for Instagram and use them for LinkedIn. So I kind of have that complementary, because
nice.
You would know Instagram is very visual, and you need to have this wonderful, good looking account when you look at it. And for celebrities and for people with many followers, with thousands and millions especially, it's not very important, because they have a large following and their audience will take up on anything they post. But when you are starting in the beginning and trying to grow your following, so it's important to use as many avenues or little additions as possible to attract your audience and to generate that interest if someone doesn't know you. So we have this LinkedIn, Instagram, and then Instagram stories on top of that. And nowadays, more people are watching Instagram stories, and then it attracts them to your account. So it's like a cycle. So you just need to, if you're in the beginning of your personal branding journey and not sure where to start with social media channels, then you really need to sit down and brainstorm and understand the differences of the platform, and have a plan at least in your head, or understand what you're doing.
Yeah. I think, when you talk about personal branding and the journey, everyone's on it already. Like, we're all on it, and you can either take a passive role or you can take an active role. If you take a passive role on it and think it's not important, then you're going There's people getting ahead of you. So active versus passive. Now, we've spoken about LinkedIn. We've spoken about social media for personal branding. What other ways can we? I've got to be careful on the language because I'm really conscious around not putting out what you want other people to see. So what else can we do to project our most authentic version of ourselves in the industry we specialize in, around the skill sets that we've got? What else can we do away from social media that will complement what we do online in a personal branding perspective?
Well, a few things. I mentioned earlier that how we look and how we dress is important, how we walk and how we talk.
I've had to change. I've had another shoot this morning, and I had to do a wardrobe change from a t-shirt I think I had on. But yeah, sorry, I interrupted.
Well, some people, and I'm seeing that more and more, are creating even one-page websites about themselves, summarizing their achievements or roles. You don't really need it, depending where you are in your career, but I'm seeing that more and more amongst senior executives who are wanting to land corporate directorship roles, for example.
Yeah.
But I would say LinkedIn, just if you want to start somewhere and choose one online digital avenue for that, just go with LinkedIn. It's just you can't go wrong. And really, in the past, well, at least 5 years, and I shared that story when I was interviewing 3 companies at the same time. During that time, those organizations, they didn't ask me for ACV. I think the one who gave me an offer, they asked right at the end, said, "Oh, Maria, can we actually have it so we have it on file?" But otherwise, all the information about me and my expertise and skills was on LinkedIn. And also sometimes people ask me, "So Maria, I'm not very comfortable, like there is that perception, don't share all the stuff about you on LinkedIn, so it generates that interest, so that a recruiter wants to ask me more questions." And I say, actually put as much relevant information on LinkedIn as possible. And if there is something that's not suitable for a recruiter, then it's not your opportunity. Another opportunity will come your way. And that saves time and energy for everyone. So I would like just to sum up that just don't be shy and really show who you are. Again, it needs to be done in a strategic, deliberate way, but be proactive.
Great. So from my personal perspective, for anyone out there who might have something they want to share, but they're sitting there and they've written it out and they're about to press the button and they go, "Oh no, what are my friends going to think? What about this? Blah, blah, blah." Hit it, press the button. I've got to say, when I've sat there and I wouldn't say most confrontational piece. I don't think confrontational is the right way to language it. It's more along when I've sat there ready to post something and share something that I've felt, how's this one? Like, what's this? What's the response going to be like that? And I've had some feelings come up inside when I press it. They're always the best ones. They're always the best, most engaging posts. So if you're sitting there right now wanting to get started on personal brand journey and you've typed something out or added an image or a video or recorded a video and you're sitting there with a whole bunch of fear, press the button, get it out there, then move on to the next piece and the next piece. It's amazing what you think's going to work or get good traction and good engagement. Sometimes amazing. And then sometimes it's the surprising pieces that you put together that really, cut through, and then people get a really intimate connection with you from that. Would you agree? Don't you reckon?
Yeah.
Is that for you?
Yeah. Look, I would say one of the most complex areas of personal branding is the content creation. Okay. So once you go through that stage of, the clarity, understanding where you want to go and what is the purpose of you doing that. Are you just doing that because you feel it feels right and you should? That's how I started. That's a good start as well. But once you have some sort of a clarity, what you're writing about, what kind of photos you're taking, posting, how you're bringing together videos with written text or written text with photos and so on, then actually write that content and create. Are you take a photo? Are you going to have a professional photo shoot? Are you using your phone? What kind of photos? The videos is another complex beast. How are you editing? Are you editing subtitle? Are you adding subtitles or not? So and how you posting, how often, when, what time, what days, and it's really all a journey which takes time. And as you rightly pointed out, Brent, that just do it, start somewhere, but then also pay attention to how much engagement you're getting, how people are reacting to your posts, how many times your video has been viewed, and so on. So it's more to be really very assertive and open-minded and analytical into what you're doing online and offline with your personal brand.
What about if some, like, it's easier? I think it's easier for business owners and entrepreneurs, let's say, or people who are running the organizations they work for. What about for somebody working for an organization, right? And they want to start sharing more about themselves. I know I've had some people contact me say, well, if I do that, you know, it could affect my role. It could affect, you know, the relationships within my business. What do you say? What can you say to the listeners who might be going, you know what, I want to start. I'm like psyched. I want to create something. I want to post something, but how will my employer perceive? What will happen? Any tips or ideas around that? Because I always think that if I said half the stuff I said, if I was working for somebody else, I would have been made redundant for the third time in my life.
Very valid questions, Brent. And quite a few of my clients had very similar queries, especially when someone is working for large corporates, for large brands. So there are a few things. When you are communicating something on social media, then make it explicit that the views are your only views. Yes, you might be working for a company, but the views are yours.
Okay.
Another thing is check internal policies on communicating on social media. Again, large corporations, they do have policies. They vary a bit. Surely they wouldn't be allowed to talk about the position of their organization, because there would be internal media channels or PR team who would be managing that.
Yeah.
Another thing which I would recommend, you know, a lot of people on LinkedIn, what they do in the very top line, they actually state the role and quite often the organization they're working for. So when their content appears, it creates that perception that they are talking on behalf of that role, or they're voicing opinion of that company. So, but thinking about the personal brand as promoting yourself, think how you would label, I don't like that word, but how would you label yourself on LinkedIn? So if you go to mine, you will see mine states personal branding, professional networking, strategic advocacy, governance. And I do wear a number of hats. I have now I have a portfolio career, and those are the main things that I'm interested in. So even if someone is, let's say, a programmer, a developer working for a company, you can state at the top that you're, for example, machine learning expert. So, and once you position your profile more into who you are rather than what you do, then it will help you to be perceived and seen as you're articulating your own vision and approach, not the company you're working for.
Good stuff. It's a great answer. You're very, very intelligent, Maria. I love it. I need to do more of these so I can learn a bunch more stuff. Thank you so much for being so open and sharing, your stuff. It's really encouraging for the people who come on and listen to this and watch this to hear it. It's really relevant and practical things that they can do today to get started. So personal branding during lockdown. Wow. It's a challenging one, isn't it? I look at my Instagram story. and I look at some of the content I'm sharing, there's this, there's an information overload right now. What do we share? What don't we share? I've been like, you know what? The world can have everything that I'm thinking about. So I've been really open and transparent about my political views, not necessarily political views, but about my beliefs. And, I've had a couple of people reach out to me and say, just remember, you're building a personal brand and also businesses. And I responded to that guy and I said, for me to sacrifice and compromise my own truth in the interest of business results, I'm doing myself a personal disservice. And I also see a massive sense of responsibility for business leaders to be speaking up around their beliefs and their thoughts through the current times we're going through. A lot of people are silenced now, and they're on the back foot and they're not speaking up and out, and we need more business leaders to step up and speak up. I think, LinkedIn's a place where it's meant to be for businesses and professionals and that type of content. However, behind every business, behind a professional, there's a real life person, and the real life people aren't speaking up. And whether or not what happens in the next little bit of period of time is irrelevant. It's just about being, at what point do we speak up? Do we speak up about our personal beliefs and values, or do we pull back and go, you know what? What if that compromises my business results? Maria, you're the expert. Help me here. Help me.
And abundance mindset. What can I say?
Oh, so true, isn't it? It's so true. It's so true. Abundant mindset. Imagine if everybody in the world right now had an abundant mindset, Maria.
So, you're turning some people off by expressing your beliefs, then be it. Then you actually probably don't want to stay in touch with those people and share your energy with them. And time and energy are the resources which, you can replenish your energy, but still I'm sure you would prefer to be in the circles of people who express similar beliefs, and you grow by communicating with each other rather than defending your position or thinking or wasting your energy on thinking, gee, if I express this, will they get upset? Well, for the last 2 or so years, my approach has been, you know what, stuff it. I'm here living for myself. I'm not in the business of selling ice cream. I know what I stand for and where I want to be. I have my own truth. And I know by actually expressing my beliefs and truth, I will attract the right people with whom I will have fun and we'll learn each other and we'll grow and the life will be amazing.
Incredible.
So, yes. I did notice, Brent, there was one particular person in my connections on LinkedIn. I don't know him well, but I met him a couple of times. He expressed quite strict views on masks. And the comments started flooding, like, you're damaging your personal brand. And he runs his own business. So at least he doesn't need to think, well, what's going to happen with my job if I'm working for the company, right? So we have business owners have this flexibility. And his response was amazing. Something along the lines, actually, I'm being authentic. I believe that masks are BS, and we have certain proof and statistics and medical professionals speaking out. I'm not going to go into that depth, but that's what I believe. And if you don't like it, disconnect from me.
That's it. It's so true, isn't it? It's so true. I've actually had to do that in my personal life, like crazy, right? Personal life 3.5 years ago. And a lot of people are not in my world anymore. And I love them and wish them all the best and support them from afar. But it's true. The people will show up. If you be yourself, the right people will show up. You'll feel more aligned. You'll feel more confident. You'll have people in your corner supporting you, conspiring for your success to move forward into, your dream life that you want to live. And that's what this is about. You need to be authentic. You need to come through true, be yourself, speak up, and reach out to someone like Maria around personal branding. Maria, you've been awesome. Thank you so much for your time. It's been awesome having you on the show. You've been a great guest, and look forward to catching up with you face-to-face when we can.
Thank you, Brent. Likewise. Thank you for inviting, and can't wait to get out. I had enough of being at home, so yeah, catching up with you in person.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you real soon, Maria. Thanks so much.
Thank you.